Hello, this is Blakey Crow. We're going to be doing a chord analysis for the hymn, My God, How Wonderful You Are. This is a chord analysis, or we can say we're charting the chords for the song. The song is in the key of G. In the key of G, we have the three primary chords are based on the first, the fourth, and the fifth note of the scales. So the three primary chords, the one chord is the G chord. That's made up of G, B, and D. The four chord is the C chord, made up of C, E, and G. The five chord is the D chord, D, F sharp, and A, but a lot of times your five chord will be a 5-7, and it'll be a D, F sharp, A, and then the C is added to that, which makes it a D7 chord. The relative minor for the one is the 6. So the 6 minor is an E, G, and B. The three primary chords, the 1, 4, and 5, along with the relative minor, which is a 6 minor, these chords make up thousands of songs. If you know the 1, 4, and 5, you can play a lot of songs. But then with the 1, 4, 5, and the 6 minor, you can play many, many, many songs just knowing these chords. So now we're going to do the chord charting for this hymn. It's in the key of G. To begin with, it doesn't have a full chord, it just has two notes. So we'll just go ahead and say that that is a G chord. Both of those notes are in the G chord. So we'll say that's a G. Now starting in the next measure, there's a G, and then there's a D and a B. There's a B and a D, D's repeated in a G. G, B, and D, that's your one chord, that's a G. The next chord, there's a G repeated, G, and a G and a B, so still a G, B, and D, so that's a G chord. The next chord, just because the note's in the bass, that doesn't mean that that's what the name of the chord is, but it's a good way to look to see if it is. So there's a D. The D chord, D, F sharp, and A. Is this a D, F sharp, and A? There's D, F sharp, and an A. Yes, that is a D, F sharp, and A. That is a D chord. The next chord is the same thing. Then we're going back to a G. There's G, B, and D, so it's a G chord. The next chord has one note that's different. There's a D, F sharp, and an A, but also a C. D, F sharp, and A is like a D, but there's another C that's added. That makes it a D7. So the D, F sharp, A, and the C added to it makes it a D7 chord. We have an E in the bass. Let's just see if this is E minor. Is this an E, G, and B? There's E, G, and B. Yes, that is the 6th chord, the 6 minor, the E minor. Then we're back to D, F sharp, and A, so that's just the D chord. It's not a D7, it's just a D. Then we have G, and we have a B and a D. G, B, and D is a G chord. Again, G, B, and D is a G chord. Now here we have an F sharp and an A. There's a D, F sharp, A, and a C. So that is your 5-7, which is your D7 chord. D, F sharp, A, and 7 is a D7. Then we have G and a B and a D. G, B, and D makes a G chord. We have D, F sharp, and A. That's going to be the 5 chord, which is the D chord. D, F sharp, and A. And again, it's still D, F sharp, and A. So that also is a D chord. Not a D7 because there's no C in it. It's just a D chord. For the second score, we have a G, B, D. There's a G chord. Then this entire measure, everything is nothing but the notes G, B, and D. So all 4 of these are G chords. The next measure, we have C, E, and G. C, E, and G is the C chord. All the chords in this measure are C, E, and G. Nothing but C, E, and G. These are all C's. Then we have a D in the bass, but it's not going to be a D chord. It's a G, B, D. A G, B, D is the one chord. It's just a one chord, but it's got the 5 in the bass. So that's still a G chord, even though it doesn't have a G in the bass. So that's a case where it doesn't have the name of the chord in the bass. Then the next chord also is a G, B, D. And so is the next chord. It's also G, B, and D. Now we still have a D in the bass, but then it changes. There's D, F sharp, and A and a C. D, F sharp, A and a C is a D7 chord. And then the last one is G, B, and D. You're back to the one chord, which is a G. Usually it starts with a one chord, ends with a one chord. We have chord progressions. Sometimes it'll go from the 1, it'll go from 1 to 4 to 1, it'll go from 1 to 5 to 1. So watch out for those chord progressions. The reason we're learning to recognize the chords, is to chart the chords in the hymn, is if you're going to improvise, you need to know the chords. In improvising, you're not playing what's written. If you're just going to play what's written, you just play the notes. But when you start to improvise and add more notes, you do need to know the names of the chords. Let's look at this again. Here I've written the chord names above it. I didn't put it above the first one. It's not a full chord, but we'll start with a G. And so I've got the chord names written above them. Let's just go back and kind of check. We've got the G for these two. They're both G, B, and D. The next two, they're D, F sharp, and A. Then we have G, B, and D. Then we have D, F sharp, A, and C, which is the D7. Then we have an E minor. We have E, G, and B. And then we just have a plain D. We don't have the C, so instead of a D7, it's just a D. G, B, and D is G's. There's the D7 again because it has the C in with it. Back to a G, B, D, which is G. And then both of these are D, F sharp, A. They are D chords. For the second score, all the notes in a measure are G, B, D, so all of these are G's. I don't repeat putting the chord above it when it's the same thing. Then the next one, they're all C's. C, E, and G. It goes to a G, B, and D, so that's a G chord for the first three. Then the last one, it's a D7, D, F sharp, A, and C, and it goes back to the one chord at the end. And again, the one reason we're learning to chart the chords is so that this is a way for you to begin to start getting ready to improvise. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this. Any comments on any of the chords? I appreciate any comments that you would leave for me in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching.